Hello guys, before we start, I'm really sorry that it's going to be like background noise because my mother decided to turn on the karaoke machine, but don't worry, just ignore the noise and let's just continue with the video. So, hello guys, I am back from another video and today we're talking about Deku was the Grim Reaper. So, in the last video Deku, after Izuku started patrolling the city with Bakugo, they were patrolling the city as it was pretty normal until, almost the last year. A legion of demons appeared, which were led by two demons, being one of the lords of hell, being Flaros, and the other being a duke by the name of, wait for a second, Barbatos. So Izuku decided to fight with Flaros. As for, Maria, which she came there to try and take down these demons, she decided to fight Barbatos. After fighting it, Izuku met another challenger. This person being the demon executioner by the name of Alacino, a demon from Dante's Inferno, being one of the books of the series of books known as the Divine Comedy. And he was a jester demon in legend, or his name is a corruption of the you know, a word or the Italian word for jester or clown or whatever. And so after defeating him, a news helicopter arrived as they asked what Izuku really is, and says that he prefers not to talk about it all that much, and if they were to try and talk to him again, he would just kill them. So they just backed off as Izuku moved back, as Izuku goes back home after the internship. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, when Izuku came back to school, everybody started looking at him, and some girls asked if he was the guy from the news that defeated those demons, as Izuku just told him to back off, as he was busy. And so, Izuku came back to school as everybody started crowding around him saying, "I can't believe you actually defeated those demons. In fact, you actually defeated two. That was awesome," says Kirishima. As for, wait for a second, Kaminari, he says this. "Yeah, can you tell me how to fight like that? I mean, it's so cool how you defeated them just using your scythe or whatever. It's so freaking cool." As for Bakugo, he said this. "Hey, Izuku, can you tell me how to join this group or whatever?" As Izuku just says this. "Maybe next time you should try and ask them first." As he says this. Whatever. Never mind. I'm not joining that group. As Aizawa tells everybody to get ready because it's going to be their final exam. And so, everybody was brought outside, where they're going to be fighting their teachers. In Izuku's case, he's going to be fighting against, All Might. Alone this time. As one of them said this. "Hey, is this kind of unfair? I mean, Izuku is just all alone." As Aizawa just says this. "Did you forgot that Izuku's basically dangerous to the point that he's able to destroy a demon with just one slash of his special scythe or whatever?" As they say this. "Oh yeah." As Izuku just says this. "So I'm gonna be fighting against the number one hero. This will be fun." As Izuku smiles. As All Might says this. It very well, Izuku. I shall fight you. But make sure that you're ready." As Izuku just says this. "Yeah, I am ready." As Izuku gets ready, wearing his hero costume, as Izuku summons out Thanatos. As Thanatos says this. "So, are we going to be fighting against another As he looks over and sees All Might. As he says this. "Wait, we're going to be fighting against a human?" As he says this. "The number one hero, so I should try and fight him to the best of my abilities." As All Might says this. "So that Scythe can talk. Nice to meet you, what's your name exactly?" As he says this. "The name's Thanatos, a fallen angel that was turned into a scythe as a punishment, as he says this. Huh, so you're a fallen angel. Very well. No matter how you are, or whatever you are, there's still a friend of Izuku's. And so, I decided to call you a friend as well. And now, let us start the battle. The final exams. As Izuku gets ready, wielding the back end of his scythe resembling a spear, which you kind of resembles a spear from a different anime. I'll give you a hint. Holy Grail War. Anyway, Izuku starts getting ready as Izuku says this. Now, let's fight. As the battle begins, All Might using a Detroit Smash to, smash Izuku. Izuku just dodges it, as Izuku creating his wings, as Izuku uses his scythe to create several red slashes instead of his usual blue. As All Might says this. Huh, I've never seen those types of moves before. As Izuku just says this. Because that's his normal attacks. That's because it's his normal attacks back then. And now, allow me to show you. As Izuku starts using his blue Soulfire, as Izuku creates Soulfire slashes, resembling an X, as All Might dodges the attack as he starts charging towards Izuku, getting ready to punch him. Izuku dodges it, as Izuku ducks under him, as Izuku uses his metal-like glove, this one over here, with the cross on his palm, to punch All Might. All Might feels the damage, but does ignore it, as All Might uses another smash on him. Izuku uses the smash to retaliate on him, using his force against him by just, using his, scythe handle as a block or a shield, as Izuku pushes him back, as causing a gigantic explosion to basically happen, or shockwave. A gigantic crater was formed, as Izuku just says this. Now take this. As Izuku uses his, two blades given to him, Raphael, as Izuku starts charging towards him with it, using several slashes from basically blue flames, as Izuku finishes off by grabbing onto, All Might with the blades right at his neck, but not slashing at him. As All Might says this. You win, Izuku. As Izuku was declared the winner. Everybody watching this was impressed at Izuku's technique. Even some of Class 1B was impressed, saying, so Izuku actually did it. He defeated All Might. As one of them being, wait for a second, Shinso has a massive respect for him for that reason now. And so, the rest of Class 1A are basically now able to go to the, to the training camp. But except for two, being Mina and Zero. And so they're just going to be doing a test, and if they do pass, they're allowed to go to the training camp. After doing the test, they actually did it, and now they're finally going on to the camp. And so Izuku starts going there with the rest of his classmates. They started arriving there on a bus, as while they were talking about how exciting wait for a second. So, they're basically excited, as everybody was talking about some other stuff, as they reach on to Izuku, asking how did he actually get his powers in the first place, as he was also curious, as Izuku just says this. I can't hide it anymore, so guess I'll tell you, but you have to keep it a secret. Aizawa also listens in, including All Might, as Izuku explains. The angels, they gave us this power. Each church resembles or worships a specific angel. In my case, It's the angel of death and faith, the angel Azrael. And because of this, I became his vessel, or should I say, his Grim Reaper. Being a type of guardian, each guardian was given a special role, or name. In my case, it's called a Grim Reaper, but for Maria, being a worshipper of Uriel, she's called a Firebearer. As one of them said this, being Momo. So, if they really are able to use, powers like these, then why are they not known about? Or why are they not, become heroes? So they can at least, um, show off their powers without, getting suspected. As Ezekiel just says this, because back then, when quirks did actually happen, let's just say the church was not acceptable to these quirk users. They thought of these quirk users as just heretics, witches, even, and so they believed them as monsters. But now, after a few more years, and they slowly just stopped to, stop, wait for a second, stop these policies. Now, quirk users are now allowed to become these legendary people, even some becoming heroes, but mostly minor heroes. In my case, I was a person with a quirk. Mine is called Angel, which is similar to Hawk's, quirk, which allows me to create these wings, but they're not sharp or anything interesting. They just allow me to fly. But with the integration of my powers, I'm able to ignite these flaming wings. These wings are able to shoot out these feathers, which are able to kill demons. Pretty effectively, in fact. As one of them being Kirishima said this, so if quirks can actually damage demons, then can we actually join? As Izuku just says this, are you kidding me? Besides, I want all of you to be safe. After all, you are my classmates. And if all of you were to join, you would never survive. After all, demons are dangerous, born from human desires, even being humans once before. Even some primordial. Wait for a second. Even some originally becoming angels, but now fallen and led astray by some evil force. Like, for example, the angel Lucifer, which he decided to try and make a rebellion against God himself, but instead was cast out, becoming the so-called First Fallen. As one of them said this, being Ida, what do you mean by First Fallen? As Izuku just says this, well, he was never the First Fallen. In fact, he was the second. As one of them said this, so then, who is the First Fallen then? Says Mineta. As Izuku just says this, an angel known as Satanael, originally called Satan. But Satan was another demon, specifically the Prince of Wrath. Even though they have similar names, they're completely different. Satan was a dragon that breathes out fire and has red skin, but for Satanael, he was an angel, but he was different. Let's just say he was completely different. He was an angel that worked with the Demiurge, a fake god. As one of them being, wait for a second, being Jiro says this. So, if this fake god really did exist, then what is his original name? As Ezekiel just says this, the Yeldabaoth, or Demiurge, or just Yeldabaoth. We don't know. Most sources say that it's either Yeldabaoth or just Demiurge. Even though, in modern day, most depictions of the Demiurge, or specifically the one that represents a fake god, or the fake god that we interpreted, is preferred to be called as Yaldabaoth. Yaldabaoth was said to be a fake god that led astray several angels to attack God, but one of them, one of his creations, by the name of Satanael, rebelled, similar to Lucifer, but instead, he wanted to free humanity from his evil controls. But after he did, the real God appeared and cast him out, turning him into a fallen angel. But some say in our church, or almost all of the churches say, that Yaldabaoth actually made another copy of him and said to be another version of him, a demiurge, which we don't know the name of, but the original being the original Satanael was said to be reincarnated several times to protect humanity as their savior. As everybody has gone silent, as Ezekiel just says this. Anyway, let's talk about something more lighthearted. As one of them, being Mineta, says this. Ho, ho, how about this? As he shows off a magazine, as everybody started getting, well, angry, including the girls, as they basically started attacking him. As Ezekiel just says this. I said something lighthearted, not something disgusting. As he says this. Come on, it's not disgusting. As Ezekiel just says this. I think of you as just something inhuman now. Actually, I don't even know if you're actually the son of Asmodeus or something else. As he says this. Uh, Frick you. Anyway, so, after a while of talking, they basically go to where they're gonna be staying, the training camp. But they stopped at a little cliffside, as everybody was brought outside to take some rest, smell the fresh air. But Ezekiel definitely senses that it's probably a trick, so Ezekiel just pretends. But when that pretend was finally over, or that trick, everybody was feeling a bit tired until they saw some 4 people. These 4 people, one of them being a woman with cat ears, put her hand onto the ground as they started falling down to the ground. Everybody was starting to, well, get afraid. But Ochako tagged some of them as they started floating. For Ezekiel, he starts creating his wings. As for some of the others, they created platforms and used their abilities to stop their falling. And so, Ezekiel said this. It must be a villain. As one of them said this. Are you sure? As Ezekiel just says this. I don't know. But it's definitely something. As Ezekiel just says this. The camp was over there, I think. I saw a little village or whatever. As one of them said this, being Momo. So, if really wait for a second. So we just need to walk there? As Ezekiel just says this. Yeah, I at least think so. As Todoroki says this. Alright, I'll stay with Ezekiel. For the rest of you, go in teams. As one of them, being Bako, said this. So, Todoroki, why did you decide to, stay with Ezekiel of all people? Are you perhaps having as she says this, it's not like that. And besides, I think he's the most closest thing to the most powerful person here. As Bako said this. What did you say, you little ice bitch? As he says this. What did you say? As they started getting ready to fight, as Ezekiel just says this. Everybody just calm down and do not fight. Besides, we don't want any disturbances. And besides, if the villains are here, they probably know that wait for a second. They probably know our weaknesses, I think. As one of them said this. They know our weaknesses? Says Mineta. As Ezekiel just says this. I'm not sure, but let's just go. So, while they're going through the forest, Ezekiel sees a gigantic earth dragon. As Ezekiel just says this. Guys, get behind me. As Ezekiel starts creating his blue soul flame, as Izuku shoots out a blast of it, destroying the dragon in an instant. As everybody said this, are we sure we actually need Izuku to protect us? Like, seriously. Um, we're basically just useless here. As Bakugo said this, "Hey Izuku, let me have some fun this time." As Izuku just says this, "My pleasure." And so, they moved on, as after a while of like walking through the forest, they finally made it there at the crack of. Wait for a second. The crack of dusk, as everybody was completely tired, including Izuku, as Aizawa says this. "So you finally made it. Alright, everybody, meet the people that almost killed you." As Izuku starts getting ready, as Izuku realizes those are the Wild Wild Pussycats, as Izuku just says this. "Huh, so you're the Wild Wild Pussycats." As one of them said this, "And you must be Mr. Izuku Midoriya." As Izuku just says this. "How do you know my name?" As one of them said this. "Isn't it obvious? I mean, you're pretty popular on the news right now. Like, seriously, the whole, like, talking of demons thing and the whole, like, angels thing. Like, seriously, it's spreading all over the news." As Ezekiel just says this. "I didn't know that." As one of them said this. "Alright, everybody, let's have dinner. You seem a bit tired, Mr. Ezekiel, so over there." And so, everybody started having dinner. Ezekiel was completely tired, as Ezekiel, before eating, he starts praying. As one of them said this. "Hey Ezekiel, are you going to eat?" Or as Ezekiel just says this after praying. "I need to pray every time I, well, start to eat. So, it's tradition." As one of them said this. "Yeah, after all, he is Christian." As Ezekiel starts eating. So, after finish eating, Ezekiel started leaving and gets ready to, get some sleep. But it turns out that Ezekiel is gonna be sleeping with, you know, Todoroki. Yeah, wait first. Yeah, apparently Ezekiel's gonna be sleeping with Todoroki. As Ezekiel just says this. Uh, are you serious? As she says this. "Yeah, it seems my father pulled some strings." As Ezekiel just says this. "Alright, Todoroki, you can sleep on the left. I'll sleep on the right." As she says. Sure, just don't look at me while I'm changing into my pajamas." As Ezekiel starts changing in the tent, well, actually no, it's in the reverse. Todoroki starts changing, like, in the tent, while for Ezekiel, he starts changing outside, near some bushes. While Ezekiel was changing, Ezekiel heard rustling. As Ezekiel gets his flashlight and looks around. As Ezekiel looks over and sees a girl. And that girl was Momo. As Momo said this. Ezekiel, I'm sorry that, you were changing. I'm sorry." As Ezekiel just says this. "Hey, move somewhere else." As she leaves. As Ezekiel just says this. "Oh, I hope she didn't see anything." As Momo said this. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that thing was that big." She saw the worm down over there. Anyway, after Izuku moved back into the tent, not Momo, I meant, Todoroki said this. "Alright, let's get some sleep." As like, Izuku saw her long hair, now finally let down. As Izuku just says this to himself. Why is she so cute?" As Izuku just goes onto his, like, the sleeping quarters, being the left side. As for Todoroki, she starts sleeping on the right side. As Izuku and Todoroki go to sleep. And so, this will be the end of this episode. And so, I hope you liked the video. Comment, subscribe, and like the video if you want to support my channel. And I hope to see you guys next time. Bye bye!